Imagine this. One day, you simply stop reaching out. No warnings, no explanations, just silence. You were once a presence in his life, someone he could count on to be there, to react, to engage, and now, nothing. That first day, that first moment, when he realizes you haven't texted, called, or commented on anything he's done, it barely registers. He might even feel a quiet satisfaction, believing that he is the one in control. In his mind, this is a temporary shift, a momentary blip in the dynamic he's gotten used to. At first, he assumes you're just busy. Maybe you got caught up with work, friends, or life in general. He tells himself she'll be back. That's what always happens, right? He expects the usual rhythm to return, because up until now, the pattern has always been the same. But as the hours pass and then the days, that certainty begins to falter. The absence lingers. The predictability of you, your responses, your attention, your presence is no longer a given. And this is where something powerful happens. For the first time in a long time, he experiences a moment of genuine discomfort, not heartbreak, not sadness, just an unfamiliar sense that something is off. This isn't how it usually goes. And more importantly, this isn't what he expected from you. Men by nature have a deep-seated need to believe they are the ones in control of the emotional dynamics in a relationship. It's not necessarily intentional or malicious, it's just the way many of them operate. They assume they know where you stand. They assume they can predict your moves. When you step outside of that script, when you break the cycle of seeking validation, of being the first to reach out, of reacting to his energy, he doesn't just notice, it disrupts the entire way he's been viewing the situation. And here's the key. He won't admit it right away. His ego won't let him. In fact, his first instinct might be to brush it off. She's just playing a game. She's trying to get my attention. She'll be back. But as time stretches on, the cracks start to form. And those cracks, they're dangerous to his sense of certainty. The interesting thing about human nature is that we don't appreciate something fully until it's no longer accessible. It's why people don't crave freedom until they feel trapped. It's why we don't think about oxygen until we're gasping for breath. And it's why the moment someone who was once a steady presence in our life disappears, we suddenly realize how much we took them for granted. This is the power of detachment. When you pull away, not in a manipulative way, not as a game, but as a genuine decision to reclaim your own power, you shift the balance, you create space. And in that space, something profound happens. He is forced to feel your absence. This isn't about revenge. It's not about playing with his emotions or making him suffer. It's about breaking the cycle that kept you in a place of emotional dependence. If he never had to wonder about you, if he never had to question your presence, then he never had a reason to truly appreciate it. So in those first moments of your disappearance, his mind does what it always does. It tries to rationalize. But what he doesn't realize yet is that this isn't just a momentary shift. This is the beginning of a new reality, one where you are no longer predictable, no longer easily accessible, no longer willing to be taken for granted. And that realization, it's going to hit him harder than he expects. Because once he starts to feel the edges of your absence, once he starts to notice the silence where your presence used to be, a seed is planted, a seed of uncertainty, a seed of doubt. And no matter how much he tries to convince himself that he's fine, that seed will start to grow. This is the moment where the game changes. Not because you manipulated him, not because you followed some set of rules, but because you finally understood your own worth enough to step back. And when that happens, the only question left is this: will he realize what he had before it's too late? Because here's the truth. When someone expects you to always be there, they stop valuing what you bring. But when you walk away, truly walk away, you give them the rarest gift of all, the chance to see with absolute clarity what life feels like without you in it. And for some, that's a wake-up call they never saw coming. There's a moment in every disappearing act when the realization sets in. This isn't just a phase. The first day or two, he brushes it off, assuming you'll eventually reach out, that things will snap back to normal. But when that doesn't happen, when the silence stretches longer than he anticipated, his mind starts shifting gears. At first, it's subtle, just a passing thought here and there. Has she really moved on? Is she actually done? But then those thoughts grow, and here's the fascinating part. He doesn't just miss you. He misses the way you made him feel. That's the real hook. Because at the end of the day, human beings aren't addicted to people. We're addicted to the emotions they make us experience. And up until now, you provided a steady stream of validation, attention, and energy that reassured him of his place in your world. Whether he fully appreciated it or not, that consistency was a form of comfort. It meant that no matter how distant he became or how distracted he got, there was a part of him that never had to work to keep you there. But now, that's changed. See, when you disappear, you don't just take away your presence, you take away his reflection. You remove the mirror that allowed him to see himself through your admiration, your pursuit, your effort. And when that mirror vanishes, he suddenly finds himself questioning something he's never had to before. Who am I to her now that she's not constantly reaffirming my importance? This is where things start to get uncomfortable for him, because what you've done is introduce something into his psyche that wasn't there before. Uncertainty. And uncertainty is the most powerful emotional trigger you can activate in a man who thought he had you figured out. People assume men don't overthink relationships the way women do, but that's not entirely true. The difference is most men don't start overanalyzing until they feel like they're losing control, and that's exactly what your silence creates. He replays old conversations. He re-examines his last message to you, wondering if he missed something. He thinks back to the last time you were together, searching for clues. Was she acting different? Did she meet someone else? The questions start piling up, and each one chips away at the security he once had in your connection. This is where regret starts creeping in. Not necessarily because he's realized the depth of his feelings just yet, but because he realizes something was taken from him before he had a chance to decide if he wanted to keep it. And there's nothing more unsettling to a man's ego than feeling like he wasn't the one to end it. Now, this is where most people make a mistake. They assume that just because he's thinking about them, it means he's ready to chase. But thinking and acting are two different things. At this stage, he's still wrestling with pride. He might tell himself, I don't care that much, or she's probably just trying to get my attention. That internal dialogue is his defense mechanism. It's his way of maintaining control in a situation where he actually has none. But here's where things shift again. The longer you hold your ground, the more his mind starts working against him. Because now it's not just about missing you, it's about losing you. And men, they hate to lose. Now, he's not just wondering where you are, he's wondering who you're with. He's not just questioning why you're not texting him, he's questioning whether someone else is getting your attention now. He starts to wonder, did I misjudge her? Did I assume she needed me more than she actually did? And that thought, that's where everything changes. Because in that moment, you're no longer the predictable person who was always there. You're no longer the woman he could take for granted. You've become something else entirely, a challenge. And whether men admit it or not, they are wired to pursue what feels just out of reach. It's not about playing games. It's about triggering a biological response that makes them want to earn something they once assumed was theirs. The best part? You're not doing anything manipulative. You're simply allowing reality to set in. You're giving him the space to realize that relationships, attention, love, none of it is guaranteed. And if he truly values you, if he sees you as someone worth chasing, then he will come looking for you. But not because you begged him to. Not because you reminded him of what he lost. He'll come back because he'll finally understand something he should have from the beginning. Your presence was a privilege, not a guarantee. There's a tipping point in every absence where curiosity turns into frustration. At first, he might have been able to brush it off, maybe even convince himself that you were just playing a game, waiting for him to make the first move. But now, as the days stretch on, something shifts. The silence isn't just an empty space anymore, it's a confrontation, because what happens when you disappear isn't just that he misses you, it's that he starts questioning himself. See, human beings are wired for consistency. We crave patterns. And for a long time, you were part of his pattern. Maybe he was used to seeing your name pop up on his phone, used to the casual check-ins, the small ways you always made him feel like a priority. Even if he didn't fully appreciate it, even if he took it for granted, there was a kind of security in knowing you were there. And now, that's gone. What's left in its place isn't just longing, it's dissonance. Because the brain doesn't like unresolved tension. It doesn't like when something doesn't make sense. And here's what doesn't make sense to him now. Why aren't you reacting the way he expected you to? Maybe he thought you'd crack after a few days. Maybe he assumed you'd find some excuse to reach out, that you wouldn't be able to resist proving your feelings. Maybe he even thought you'd ask for closure, but you didn't. And that lack of reaction, It's what drives him insane, because now he's not just wondering where you are, he's wondering how you're doing this. How did the person who once cared so deeply about him suddenly seem fine without him? And that thought, that single unsettling thought, is what makes him start to rethink everything. Because in his mind, this wasn't how it was supposed to play out. He might have been the one who pulled away first. Maybe he was distant. Maybe he got comfortable. Maybe he even thought, she'll always be there for me. But now, he's realizing something different. Maybe I never understood her as well as I thought I did. And that's a terrifying realization. Because when someone thinks they have you figured out, they assume they know how much power they have over you. They assume that no matter what happens, they can predict how you'll react. But the moment you stop playing by those rules, the moment you show them that you're not the person they assumed you were, that's when everything changes. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Now it's no longer just about you, it's about him, about his ego, about his identity. Because if he believed on some level that you needed him more than he needed you, then this silence is proving something very different. It's showing him that maybe, just maybe, he was wrong. And if he was wrong about that, what else was he wrong about? Now, he's not just thinking about the last time you spoke, he's thinking about all the times before that. He's remembering moments he dismissed, things you said that he never really listened to. He's replaying the way you looked at him, the way you tried, the way you cared. And then he starts asking himself the hardest question of all. Did I take her for granted? Because if there's one thing people don't like, it's realizing they overlooked something valuable. And the idea that you might have been more special, more rare, more irreplaceable than he originally thought, that's the kind of thought that lingers. That's the kind of thought that keeps him up at night. And the best part, you didn't have to do anything to plant it. You didn't chase, you didn't beg, you didn't try to prove your worth. You simply removed your presence. And in doing so, you forced him to see the void you left behind. Most people think that convincing someone to value you means constantly reminding them of what you bring to the table. But the truth is, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away and let them feel your absence. Because if they truly care, if they ever truly valued you, then the loss will hit them harder than words ever could. And if they don't, then you'll have your answer. Either way, you win. Something interesting happens when someone realizes you've truly disappeared from their life. The denial starts to crack and reality begins to set in. Up until this point, he might have convinced himself that your silence was temporary, that you were just trying to get a reaction out of him, or that you'd come back when you missed him enough. But then the days pass, and then the weeks, and suddenly something shifts. Now, it's no longer just about missing you, it's about the realization that maybe, just maybe, you're not coming back. And that's when regret begins to creep in. Because human beings have a funny way of valuing things only after they've gone. It's easy to take something for granted when it's always there, always accessible. But when that access is suddenly cut off, when something that once felt certain becomes uncertain, that's when the mind starts rewriting history. Now, he's not just remembering you, he's remembering you differently. Suddenly, the little things that annoyed him don't seem so annoying anymore. The things he overlooked now feel significant. The moments he brushed off as ordinary now carry a weight he didn't appreciate before. And here's the kicker. He starts wondering if he made a mistake. Because regret isn't just about loss. It's about realizing that you had something valuable and didn't treat it the way you should have. It's about recognizing, often too late, that what once felt optional was actually essential. Now, let's be clear, this isn't about playing games or manipulating someone into caring. It's about understanding human psychology, how people process relationships, attachment, and loss. And the truth is, people only regret losing what they once believed they owned. Think about it. Have you ever misplaced something that wasn't really yours? Maybe you borrowed a book from a friend and forgot to return it. You might have felt bad, but you didn't feel loss because it was never yours to begin with. But when you lose something you believed was yours, when someone you thought you had a place with suddenly removes themselves, that's when the real regret kicks in. Because in his mind, you were supposed to always be there. You were the person he could turn to when he was bored, when he needed validation, when he wanted comfort. Even if he wasn't giving you the same level of effort, he still expected you to be available. But now, that expectation is shattered, and that's where the regret deepens, because it's not just about missing you, it's about what missing you means. It means he wasn't as sure of himself as he thought. It means he miscalculated. It means he had something valuable and didn't realize it in time. And if there's one thing people struggle with, it's admitting they were wrong. Now, let's talk about what happens next, because this is the point where his regret can go one of two ways. Some people, when faced with regret, sit with it. They reflect, they process, they come to terms with their mistakes, and they grow from them. But others, they panic. And that's when they start scrambling to fix what they broke. This is when you start getting those late night texts, the I miss you messages, the I've been thinking about you lines, the sudden attempts to reconnect. And if you ever wondered why they always come back after you've moved on, this is why. It's because for the first time, they're actually feeling the impact of their actions. And here's where you need to be careful, because when regret drives someone back to you, it's not always about love. It's often about relief. They don't want to sit with the discomfort of knowing they lost something good. They don't want to feel the weight of their own choices. They don't want to confront the fact that maybe you weren't the problem, maybe they were. And if you let them back too easily, if you rush to soothe their regret before they've done the real work of understanding why they lost you in the first place, then nothing changes. Because regret alone isn't enough. What matters is what someone does with that regret. Do they reflect? Do they take responsibility? Do they show through consistent action that they've learned? Or do they just want to reset the clock to get back to the comfort of knowing you're still there? This is where you have to be strong, because when someone comes back out of regret, it's tempting to take that as proof of love. But real love isn't just about missing someone, it's about how you treat them when they're there. So, if he regrets losing you, let him sit with it. Let him feel the loss, not just because it's what he deserves, but because it's the only way he'll learn. And if he truly values you, he won't just regret losing you, he'll do whatever it takes to earn you back. And that's the difference between someone who misses you and someone who's ready for you. Because missing you is easy. Earning you, that's where the real work begins. Something shifts when he realizes that your absence isn't just a phase, it's real. It's not an emotional reaction, it's not a game, it's not about waiting for him to notice. It's about you stepping into a new reality where he is no longer the center of your world. At first, he might have told himself that you'd be back, that you'd miss him too much, that no matter how long you stayed away, you'd eventually crack. Because in his mind, the dynamic between you was fixed, predictable. He thought he understood you. He thought he knew the limits of your patience, the depth of your attachment, the pattern of your emotions. But now, that pattern is broken. And that's terrifying, because people aren't afraid of loss as much as they're afraid of losing control over that loss. It's one thing to miss someone and feel a sense of emptiness, but it's another thing entirely to realize that you have no say in whether they come back. That's what truly unsettles him. Before, he thought he had a safety net. Even if things weren't perfect, even if he took you for granted, even if he let things slip, he assumed there was always time. But now, time is no longer on his side, because each day that passes without you reaching out, without you looking back, without you making an effort to pull him back into your world, each of those days sends a clear message. You're moving on. And here's the paradox. The moment someone realizes they're not the one in control is the moment they feel the most powerless. This is when desperation creeps in. Not necessarily in obvious ways. He might not show up at your door. He might not send a grand, heartfelt message apologizing for everything he did wrong, at least not yet, but mentally, emotionally, he's beginning to spiral. At first, he tries to rationalize it. She's just busy. She's probably just trying to prove a point. She'll get tired of this eventually. But then when the silence stretches longer than he expected, when he sees you genuinely living your life without him, when he starts to hear about you through mutual friends, his internal narrative begins to crumble. And that's when regret turns into urgency. This is when he starts making excuses to check in. Maybe he suddenly remembers something you left at his place. Maybe he finds an old picture and uses it as an excuse to send you a message. message. Maybe he casually brings your name up in conversations, hoping someone will tell him what you've been up to. But here's what you have to understand. Urgency doesn't necessarily mean change. Just because he suddenly wants you back doesn't mean he's ready to be with you in the way you deserve. Because urgency is about him, not you. It's about his feelings of loss, his sense of regret, his realization that he might have miscalculated. It's not necessarily about a newfound understanding of what he should have done differently or a commitment to treating you better. And that's where you have to be strong, because the mistake most people make when someone who took them for granted comes running back is assuming that desperation equals transformation. That just because someone is scared to lose you, they've suddenly evolved into the person you always needed them to be. But urgency is an emotion, growth is a process. One happens quickly, the other takes time. And if you let someone back in before they've done the real work of understanding why they lost you in the first place, before they've shown through consistent actions that they've changed, you don't break the cycle. You restart it. So when he starts showing up in your inbox, when he starts trying to make his way back into your world, don't just ask yourself, does he miss me? Ask yourself, does he truly understand what went wrong? Because missing you is not the same as valuing you. Missing you is about him. Valuing you is about how he treats you. So let him sit in that urgency. Let him wrestle with the discomfort of realizing that your presence in his life was a privilege, not a given. Let him prove through actions, not just words, that he's not just afraid of losing you, but that he's actually ready to have you in the way you deserve. And if he's not, then keep walking, because you don't need someone to chase you. You need someone to show up for you before it ever comes to that. There comes a moment in this entire process where he finally understands something crucial, something that shakes him in a way he never expected. It's the realization that you are not waiting for him, not playing a game, not strategically pulling away just to lure him back, not secretly hoping for a moment where he comes rushing in, making grand declarations of regret. No, you've truly moved forward. And that's when everything shifts for him, because as long as he believed there was a possibility, however small, that you were still tethered to him in some way, he could afford to keep his distance. He could afford to sit in his indecision. He could afford to convince himself that you were just one moment of weakness away from reaching out, from breaking the silence, from proving to him that he still mattered. But then the silence stretches long enough that doubt begins to creep in. What if you've actually let go? What if you've actually accepted a life that doesn't include him? What if this time it's really over? That's when he starts replaying everything. The times you were there for him when he barely had to lift a finger. The moments when he dismissed your emotions because he assumed you'd always forgive him. The security of knowing that no matter how distant or distracted he became, you'd be there, holding on, fighting for the connection, waiting for him to wake up and reciprocate the effort. He realizes he mistook your patience for permanence. That's the thing about human nature. We only really appreciate something when we understand its scarcity. And right now, for the first time,